My son wants his stepdad to be his only real father and is asking me to give up my parental rights. My boy's been telling me he wants his stepdad to be his real dad, the only one that matters, and he's asking me to let go of my rights as his father. Before I get into all that went down, I've got something to say. I'm stuck in a real tough spot with my son right now, and it'd mean a lot if folks listening could keep their words gentle and thoughtful. Anyway, about my kid, he's 17 years old, just had his birthday last week. He's gearing up to head off to college this fall. Things between us have been rough ever since I split from his mom 2 years ago. I've done everything I can think of to patch things up, but nothing works. He keeps shoving me away, and it cuts deep. I fought hard to hold on to him for as long as I could, but he won't even answer my calls or texts. When he does show up at my place, he holds up in his room the whole time, door shut tight, not saying a word to me. The only time we talk is over food, lunch or dinner, and even then, he barely says more than a sentence or two. All this got me worn out, and I reckon I started pulling back too. I stopped trying so hard to fix what's broken between us because it was plain as day he didn't want me to. Looking back, that might have been where I went wrong first. Things with my ex-wife ain't good either, and I figure that's a big reason my son's turned against me. I'm 44 years old now, and she's 42. We were hitched for nearly 20 years, but life took a bad turn when I got laid off from my job a while back. They let me go out of the blue, and it hit our family like a freight train. She's a schoolteacher, so her paycheck ain't huge, but she kept us afloat somehow. I've got to give her credit for that. Still, she started despising me, even though I was out there every day hunting for work. I was probably jobless for 2 months, but I wasn't just sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I was pounding the pavement, looking for something decent to bring home money again. She had to carry all the bills, though, and we didn't have much left in the bank. That strain started tearing us apart. We'd argue near every day, loud and mean, until we just stopped talking unless we had no choice. The anger and hurt piled up high, and one day she said she was done and filed for divorce. I didn't fight it, truth is, I was worn out too. I think she wanted me to put up a battle for us, though, and when I didn't, that made her hate me even more. I'm sure of that because one time, while we were still hashing out the divorce, she called me up and asked if I was really going through with it, if I was ready to throw it all away. I told her yes. We divided up what we owned right down the middle, so there wasn't any fuss over that, but our marriage was finished. She couldn't stand me, and I wasn't exactly her biggest fan either. We still had to figure out how to raise our son together, though. He was having a real hard time dealing with us breaking up. He never wanted the divorce to happen, but when it did, he picked his mom's side over mine. That stung bad because when he was growing up, we were tight best pals, always laughing and hanging out. I don't even know how we got so far apart. During the divorce, I'd already moved out, crashing at a buddy's place for a couple months, while my son stayed with his mom. I reckon that's when she started filling his head with ideas that I was the bad guy. I wish she'd left him out of our mess, but she wanted to hurt me, and since the divorce itself didn't break me, she knew turning my boy against me would. She was dead right about that. Him pulling away from me was the worst thing I could have imagined, and she made darn sure it happened. Then, 3 months back, she went and married some guy she worked with. I know the fella, he'd come by our house a few times when she threw parties for her teacher friends. Her tying the knot again caught everybody off guard, me most of all. I've got no clue how long they'd been a thing or if she'd been stepping out on me before we split, but by then, I didn't care enough to dig into it, so I never asked. What did get under my skin was seeing my son start posting stuff online about this new stepdad of his. They were going to football games, spending time together, acting like a big happy family. At his birthday party, one I didn't even get an invite to, he put up a picture of him with his mom and this guy, calling them mom and dad with a little heart next to it. That broke me clean in two. I threw him a party of my own later on, but he didn't care much for it. Him and his buddies just stayed in his room eating cake, while I sat out in the living room, staring at the walls, wondering where I messed up. That night, after his friends cleared out, he came to me and said he had something serious to talk about. He sat me down and said he'd been thinking hard for a long time. He told me he wanted me to give up my rights as his dad so his stepdad could adopt him instead. Said he didn't feel close to me anymore, that he liked his mom's new family better, and he didn't want me in his life no more. I didn't know what to say, couldn't even find words at first. I wanted to argue, tell him he was wrong, but I caught myself quick. Yelling wouldn't change his mind. If he was set on being with his stepdad, fighting him would just push him further away. So, with my heart sinking low, I told him I'd do whatever made him happy, and if this was his choice, I'd go along with it. He said thanks and left the next morning. Those next few days were pure misery. I couldn't get out of bed, didn't go to work, nothing felt like it mattered. The kid I'd been busting my tail for, trying to give him a good life, didn't want me in it. I was crushed, just laying there, looking at the ceiling, holding back tears. I didn't know how to turn it around or if I even could. Deep down, I knew my ex-wife was behind it all. She must have been grinning ear to ear, seeing she'd finally torn me and my son apart for good. I couldn't stand her new husband either, not because he took my old wife, but because he was taking my boy. There wasn't a thing I could do, though. Getting mad at my son would only make it worse, so I figured I'd just swallow it and hope he'd somehow find his way back to me. Then yesterday, he showed up again, but not how I'd pictured it. I'd been hoping he'd see I'm his real dad and that his mom had twisted his head around, making him think this stepdad was better than me. I thought maybe he'd feel how much I love him and come running back. But that wasn't why he came. I was over the moon when he walked in yesterday, thinking he'd had a change of heart. He had, sort of, but he looked torn up about it. When I asked what was wrong, he said he didn't want me to give up my rights anymore. Turns out his stepdad told him he couldn't pay for college, so my son had no choice but to come back to me. His mom couldn't cover it all on her own, so he needed to stick with our custody deal if he wanted to go to the school he'd picked. He was upset, voice shaky, and it hurt me to hear it. I ain't been mean to him, heck, if anything, he's the one who's been cold to me. I can't wrap my head around why he hates me so much. I ain't done nothing to deserve that from my own flesh and blood. It boiled my blood, thinking he's mad at me for no good reason, all because his mom's been feeding him lies. She's done a bang-up job at that, I'll give her credit. I lost it a little when he told me that. I couldn't handle it no more, me giving him everything I got, and him acting like I don't exist. I told him he didn't have to stick around if he didn't want to. Said there's other ways to pay for school, he could get a job or take out a loan if that's what he's after. Told him if he thinks I'm such a lousy dad, he ought to go right ahead and let his stepdad adopt him, because I don't want him miserable. I was laying the sarcasm on thick, and he knew it. He looked ashamed, head down, not saying a word, so I kept going. I couldn't stop myself, it all just poured out. Years of him hating me for nothing had built up, and the wall holding it back finally busted wide open. I told him I didn't want the divorce, it was his mom who pushed for it. Said she only hates me because I didn't beg her to stay. I don't know what garbage she's been telling him while he's been with her, but I swore to him it wasn't just my fault, and he could forget whatever wrong ideas he had about me and his mom's marriage. He's only 17, don't know a thing about my life or what I've been through. If he's swallowing her nonsense, he's got a hard lesson coming. I ain't his enemy, I didn't even want to split up, but if that's what she was set on, I wasn't gonna hang around neither. I knew he didn't like the divorce, but I did all I could to keep things steady for him. Even when I was living apart, I'd swing by for meals, but he'd ignore me because she'd convinced him I was the one who wrecked everything. I told him I wished I'd never let him stay with her back then, thinking she wouldn't poison his mind against me. I ran out of gas after unloading all that on him, and my boy just stood there, stunned silent. He didn't have a word to say, but I could tell what I'd laid out hit him hard. His face showed shock mixed with a bit of sorry. He didn't talk much after that, just muttered an apology under his breath and headed back to his mom's place. It's been a full day since, and we haven't spoken. I'm kicking myself over it now. I should have kept a lid on my temper, at least. I feel rotten for raising my voice at him. He's only 17, and his mom's been twisting his head around for 2 years straight. Still, it stung bad when he admitted he only came back because he needed me to foot his college bill. That ain't right by me, not one bit. So, am I the jerk for hollering at him after he said he didn't want me giving up my rights no more? Update 1. Hey folks, I just want to say thanks for all the kind words and support you sent my way. It's good to know a bunch of single dads out there get where I'm coming from. Keep hanging in there, fellas. Some of you have been wondering if I ever thought my ex-wife was stepping out on me. Truth is, I never did, not even when we were splitting up. Nothing jumped out at me to make me suspect she was cheating. Maybe there were hints I missed, but I didn't catch them. I don't know, and honestly, it don't matter to me now. Whether she was or wasn't, it don't change a thing. She's already shown she's a low-down person by using our son to stick it to me. I don't need more evidence she's rotten. You might be asking why I didn't push harder to have my son live with me when I was staying at my buddy's house early in the divorce. Believe me, I tried. I wanted him with me, but he kept saying he'd rather stay put at home where he was comfortable. He was still in school, and I didn't want to mess up his routine or put more strain on my friend who was already doing me a solid. I dropped by to see him when I could, but his mom made it a war zone every time I showed up. I couldn't stick around long, and after a while, he started turning against me too. That's how it went down. I did all I could to shield him from the divorce mess, but she dragged him right into the thick of it and turned him sour on me. By the time I saw what she was doing, it was too late to undo the damage. She'd already got him too far out of my reach. It's been a few days since I last talked to my son. We've swapped some texts, but no calls or visits yet. His mom hasn't reached out either, so I'm guessing he hasn't told her I lost my cool with him. Normally, he'd run straight to her, whining about it, and she'd make a big stink, painting me as the bad guy. If he ain't doing that this time, maybe he's starting to see things different. I'm not holding my breath, though. I don't want to set myself up for a fall. But I'm hoping he'll pick up the phone or swing by soon so we can sit down, hash it out, and start putting us back together. Update 2. My son came over today, and it was something else, let me tell you. I ain't saying we're all fixed up now. Things like this take time and elbow grease to mend when they've been busted so long. But today felt like a first step, and I'm glad for it. He was fidgety and uneasy at first, but then he said he was sorry for how he'd been acting. He came clean that when me and his mom were breaking up, she kept telling him I'd wrecked their marriage and didn't even try to save it. He bought it hook, line, and sinker. He was just 15, didn't know better, and needed somebody to point the finger at. I was the easy target for all the trouble he saw. It got worse when his mom remarried. He told me she was the one who told him to post stuff online with his stepdad, making it look like they were real close, when they weren't even that tight. He went along with it to spite me, thinking I'd ripped our family apart, not knowing it was her who filed for the split. She also cooked up the idea of me signing away my rights so her new man could adopt him, but she never even ran it by the guy first, just dropped it on him out of nowhere. His stepdad was caught off guard and said he liked spending time with my son but wasn't ready to adopt him. Said he didn't feel close enough yet and needed time to think it over. Plus, he flat out didn't want to shell out for college, even though he could afford it. He just didn't feel like it. All that weighed heavy on my boy, and that's why he was so down the other day. But he said me blowing up at him was what he needed to hear, cause it woke him up to some hard truths. I felt a load lift off me when we finally got to talking like this. He's starting to see his mom's been feeding him lies and pulling strings. It was a heck of a day. We even got a little bit of that old connection back. It's gonna be a long haul to get us right again, but this is a solid start. I told him I don't care what's gone on before, I'm ready to let it all go for a clean slate. He promised he'd sit his mom down and call her out on everything she's been telling him these past years. He even brought up us going to therapy together to sort out our mess in a better, healthier way. I'm tickled pink this is happening, and I'm downright thrilled she's gonna get what's coming to her. She's an awful woman, don't deserve to call herself a mom. Might sound cold, but it's the truth. If she's low enough to use her own kid to hurt me, she ain't fit to raise him. I'm thinking about going for full custody soon. I'll talk it over with him first, though maybe he still wants to stay with her despite all this, and I won't force him if that's his choice, even if it'd let me down hard. I'll see what he's thinking, then sit down with my lawyer. I hope he figures out what a selfish, nasty piece of work his mom is and picks me instead. I ain't saying it light, I wish nothing but the worst for her. She's been messing with his head for years just to get at me. I can't fathom how cruel you'd have to be to even dream that up, much less do it. She's unhinged and don't deserve a son like him. I still can't figure how I stayed married to her so long, or how she flipped from a kind, loving wife to this self-obsessed monster the second I lost my job. But now me and my boy both see her true colors, and she's about to face the music. Update 3, my son texted me today, saying he's coming to stay at my place and needs a ride from his mom's house. He's got a bunch of stuff with him, so he can't just hop the bus like usual. I'm floored right now. I'm near certain he's moving in with me. It's out of the blue, but I'm parked outside her house waiting for him as we speak. He told me to hang tight for a few minutes. I can hear shouting coming from inside, but I can't tell who's going at it or what they're saying. I want to march in there and haul him out myself, but I ain't trespassing. She'd jump at the chance to land me in hot water. So, I'm sitting here, holding tight for him. Update 4, well, I'm back home now after one heck of a long night, dog-tired, but I've got to get this out to make sense of it all. Like I said, I was parked outside my ex-wife's place earlier cause my son asked me to pick him up. A few minutes after I last checked in, he came storming out, looking mad as all get out, hauling his bags to the car. I could still hear hollering from the house, and then I saw her chasing after him. She was steamed too, and when she spotted me in the driver's seat, she made a beeline for me, screaming her head off right up against my window. It was spooky, but I told her to back off or I'd call the cops. She stepped away a bit but didn't leave. While I helped my son toss his stuff in the car, she kept yelling, claiming I turned him against her, calling me every foul name she could think of. I didn't give a hoot. I know what's real, and so does he, and that's enough for me. She didn't quit even as we pulled out. Then, out of nowhere, just a few yards down the road, she chucked a rock at my car and smashed a taillight. I drove a little ways, stopped, and called the police right then to report her. Me and my son were both floored by her going off the deep end like that, just cause she'd been found out. I filed charges against her, and we got home a few hours back. My boy broke down hard. I know he's taking it rough. I'm taking him to see a therapist first thing tomorrow morning. I've made up my mind to file for full custody tomorrow too, along with a restraining order. What went down today ain't tolerable. I'm hoping her new husband wakes up to what a lunatic he's hitched to and gets out while he can. I'm praying I can get full custody and that restraining order against her locked down quick.